Welcome back to UnderCover, Waterproofing and Underpinning Secrets. This is the deep dive from us here at DGI Waterproofing. I'm your guide today, and we're digging into something really fundamental for protecting your home. But honestly, it often gets ignored until things go wrong. We're talking about choosing a new sump pump. It's designed to save you potentially thousands in water damage, but picking the wrong one, surprisingly easy to do.
It really is. And look, we see the aftermath all the time, especially come spring melt here in the GTA. Homeowners think, oh, just grab a new one, swap it out.
Quick fix, right.
Yeah, exactly. But that often leads to, well, the pump failing quickly or needing constant repairs, which is just annoying. Or, the absolute worst case scenario hits.
Your basement floods during a huge storm because the pump couldn't handle it.
Precisely. So today, we want to cut through that confusion. We're looking at the, let's call them the 8 common mistakes homeowners make. We want to help you avoid them. Our goal really is to walk you through this, from the pit itself, the basics, right up to the safety backups you really should have, so you can make a smart choice.
All right, let's dive in. Where do we start? Maybe with the most physical mistakes, like literally getting the pump into the hole.
Yeah, let's start right there. The physical fit, it sounds incredibly basic, doesn't it?
It does.
But you wouldn't believe how often we hear about pumps just not fitting the pit they're meant for.
So mistake number 1, not checking if the pump will actually fit.
Exactly. People just assume they're all standard sizes. They're really not. Pumps vary a lot. Some are taller, some wider, some need extra clearance around them.
And trying to force it in.
Well, that's just asking for trouble. You get a bad installation, maybe it sits crooked, vibrates, leads straight to problems operating correctly.
And then you're back at the store buying another one anyway.
Pretty much. So the fix is simple but crucial. Before you even think about buying, you've got to measure your sump pit. Get the depth, the diameter, and look for anything inside that might get in the way, like pipes.
Yeah, check those measurements against the pump manufacturer's specs. They'll list the required dimensions. And, for anyone listening who's maybe not keen on getting down into a potentially damp, dark pit with a tape measure, that's where we at DGI come in, right? We offer full service installation. We do the measuring. We match the pump. We make sure that physical fit is perfect.
Absolutely. And thinking about that physical space leads us right into the next common mistake, which is ignoring the float switch.
The float switch. Such a small part. Why is it so critical?
It's basically the pump's brain. It's the trigger. It tells the pump when to turn on because the water's rising, and just as importantly, when to turn off.
Okay.
Now, if that little float gets stuck, maybe it's jammed against the side of a too small pit or debris blocks it.
And the pump just sits there.
It just sits there. Doesn't matter how high the water gets, the pump won't activate. Game over.
Wow. That sounds like a disaster waiting to happen. So how do you avoid that? How do you protect the float?
First step when installing, make absolutely sure that float has room to move up and down freely. No obstructions. Give it a manual test before you close everything up.
Good tip.
But, for real peace of mind, especially if you've had flooding issues before, maybe think about the type of switch. Standard ones can jam. Tethered floats are a bit better.
And electronic ones.
Electronic switches, they use pressure sensors, not physical movement. So the risk of jamming is pretty much eliminated. It's definitely an upgrade worth considering for reliability.
Okay, that makes sense. Let's shift gears a bit. So the pump fits, the float switch has room to move. Now we get into maybe the more confusing stuff for homeowners, sizing and power. You mentioned people just grab the cheapest. That often means getting the size wrong, doesn't it? Mistake number 2.
It really does. And this is what we call the dual danger of sizing. You can go too small, obviously trying to save a few bucks.
But keep up.
Exactly. An undersized pump just struggles during heavy rain. It can't pump the water out fast enough. But then there's the other side. People think, oh, I'll get a really powerful one just to be safe. They oversize it.
Wait, why is that bad? Wouldn't more power always be better, especially if you get a lot of rain?
You'd think so, but no. An oversized pump actually short cycles.
Short cycles.
Yeah, it kicks on, pumps out the small amount of water in the pit almost instantly because it's so powerful, and then shuts right off. On, off, really quickly.
All right.
That constant starting and stopping is really hard on the motor. It generates extra heat, causes a lot of wear and tear.
And burns out the pump faster.
Much faster. You end up replacing an expensive pump way sooner than you should have. Plus, it wastes energy.
So the key is finding that sweet spot, matching the pump to what your house actually needs.
That's it exactly. You need to think realistically. Is your main issue just a bit of seepage after a big storm? Or do you have a high water table where the pump runs frequently, even daily? It's not one size fits all.
Okay, That distinction leads nicely into mistake number 3,
Hmm.
forgetting about water volume and pump capacity. This is where horsepower versus capacity comes in, right? People fixate on horsepower.
They really do. And horsepower matters, sure, but capacity measured in gallons per hour, or GPH, that's the number that tells you how fast the pump can actually move water out. That's the key performance indicator.
So GPH is speed, horsepower is more like muscle.
Kinda, yeah. A high horsepower motor is useless if the pump design itself can't actually move a large volume of water quickly. You need the GPH capacity to handle the inflow during heavy rain or snowmelt.
So how do we figure out the right GPH? It sounds complicated.
It involves looking at something called the pump's performance curve. It's usually on the box or in the specs. It doesn't just show the maximum GPH, it shows how much water it can pump at different heights.
Heights, you mean how high it has to push the water?
Exactly. It's called head. The pump has to push water up the discharge pipe and out of your basement. The higher it has to push, the lower the GPH will be. So you need to match the GPH rating at the specific head height for your house.
Okay, that's getting technical.
Yeah.
Can you give us some rough GPH numbers for typical situations?
Sure. Let's break it down. For what we'd call an average scenario, light to moderate rain, normal groundwater levels, you're probably looking at something in the range of 2,500 to 3,500 GPH. Most homes are fine here day to day.
Okay, standard stuff.
Right. But then if you live somewhere prone to heavier, maybe longer periods of rain or significant snowmelt, or you have a higher water table, that's a moderate scenario.
Need more power then.
You need more capacity. Here you should be looking for pumps rated around 3,500 to 5,000 GPH. This ensures it can keep up when the flow increases.
Got the big one, flash floods, major storms.
Yeah, the peak or high water scenarios, maybe flash flooding is common or your water table gets exceptionally high. Now you really need serious capacity. We're talking 5,000, maybe 7,000 GPH or even more. And honestly, at that level, a single high-capacity pump is good, but you should absolutely be thinking about a robust backup system too. It becomes pretty much essential.
Okay, so we figured out capacity. But there's still mistake number 4. Picking the wrong type of sump pump. Submersible versus pedestal. What's the difference?
Good question. A submersible pump, well, it sits submerged down in the water in the pit, motor and all.
Okay, advantages.
Main ones are it's much quieter because the water muffles the sound, and the motor is sealed and waterproof, generally leading to a longer life. The downside usually costs a bit more.
And the other type, pedestal.
Pedestal pumps have the motor up top on a shaft out of the water. The pump base is in the pit, but the motor isn't submerged.
So noisier.
Definitely noisier and more visible. But the big advantage is they're typically easier and cheaper to service or repair because you can access the motor without pulling the whole thing out of the pit.
So the choice depends on basement use.
Yeah.
Noise tolerance.
Pretty much. Is your basement a finished living space where noise matters? Go submersible, probably. Do you prioritize easier maintenance access and maybe save a few dollars up front? Pedestal might work. Consider your layout and how often the pump runs.
Right. Okay, that's a solid look at the pump itself. Let's move on to keeping it running and staying legal. Section 3, safety nets and compliance. And the big one, what happens when the power goes out?
Yes. Mistake number 6. Skipping a backup power source. It's one of the most common and, frankly, riskiest emissions.
Because storms and power outages often go hand in hand, right?
Exactly. The worst storms, the ones that bring the most rain and the highest risk of flooding, that's precisely when the power grid is most likely to fail.
So your main pump becomes useless right when you need it most.
Completely useless. No power, no pumping, no protection. It's a terrible irony.
So what's the solution? What kind of backup?
You absolutely need a safety net. The most common is a battery backup system. It's a separate pump, usually smaller, connected to a marine-style battery that kicks in automatically if the AC power cuts out.
Okay.
You can also get dual power pumps that have battery backup built in, or even, though less common now, water-powered backup pumps that use municipal water pressure. The point is, some kind of backup is really non-negotiable. It ensures the pump doesn't take a nap during the storm.
Good way to put it. Okay, so power's covered, but pumps themselves can still fail, right? Batteries die eventually.
They do. Which leads us to mistake number 7, skipping alarms or smart monitoring. Just assuming the pump and its backup will work perfectly forever in silence, that's risky.
You need a heads up if something goes wrong.
You absolutely do. Pumps fail mechanically, batteries lose their charge, floats can still get stuck even if you took precautions. You need to know immediately if there's a problem.
So alarms.
At minimum, choose a model or backup system with a built-in high water alarm. It'll make noise if the water level gets too high. But even better these days, Wi-Fi monitoring.
Smart pumps.
Yeah, smart systems. They connect to your home Wi-Fi and send alerts straight to your phone if the water rises or if the pump loses power, if the backup kicks in. Some even track run times.
Like a smoke detector for your basement water levels.
That's a perfect analogy. It gives you that early warning, that critical time to check things out or call for help before there's major damage. Highly recommended.
Okay, one last common mistake. We've got the pump, the power, the monitoring. What about where the water actually goes? Mistake number 8. Not checking local rules.
Right. The discharge. We get so focused on getting the water out of the basement, we forget about where it's legally allowed to go.
There are rules about that.
Oh, yes. Many municipalities, towns, cities across the GTA have pretty strict rules. They'll often specify how far the discharge pipe needs to run from your foundation. You don't want it just pooling right next to the house.
Because it could just seep back in.
Yeah. Exactly. And rules about directing it away from your neighbor's property. And a really big one. You usually cannot connect your sump pump discharge directly into the municipal sanitary sewer system. That's often illegal.
Why is that?
Because it can overload the sewer system, especially during storms, potentially causing backups elsewhere. Sump water is generally considered relatively clean groundwater or rainwater. It should go to storm drains or dissipate on your property, not into the sewage treatment system.
So how does a homeowner make sure they're compliant? Avoid fines or angry neighbors?
It's usually pretty simple. A quick call or visit to your local building department's website or checking municipal bylaws online. They'll have guidelines on proper sump pump discharge.
Something we always check when we do an install at DGI, I assume.
Absolutely. Part of a professional installation is making sure it meets all local codes. It protects your home and ensures you're not causing problems for the community drainage system.
Makes sense. Okay, we've covered a lot of ground, a lot of potential pitfalls.
We have. And I think the main takeaway, really, is that choosing a sump pump isn't just grabbing one off the shelf. It requires a bit of homework.
Right.
It's not about finding the cheapest or just the one with the biggest horsepower number. It's about really matching the right pump, the right flow rate, the right capacity, the right features, the right safety backups to your specific house, your typical water issues, and, frankly, your peace of mind.
Yeah, the ultimate goal is to get a system that's reliable, that works independently, so you install it, and ideally, you don't have to worry about it constantly. Do the work up front to get it right.
Exactly. And, we are DGI Waterproofing. We're proud to be top-rated contractors for all these kinds of waterproofing needs right here in the GTA. And remember, if the worst does happen, if you're facing water damage right now,
Don't wait.
don't wait. We offer 24/7, same-day response for water damage emergencies. We're here to help.
So if you need help with a new sump pump installation, figuring out the right size, or dealing with any basement waterproofing issue, give us a call. The number is 647-483-2455. Well, that wraps up this deep dive for UnderCover, waterproofing and underpinning secrets. Thanks for tuning in. Until next time, stay dry out there.